Tansin etute magtiar wheatly nisigasun opasquak uchanina. Tawau, welcome to APTN National News. Winnipeg police are investigating an incident involving a security guard punching an Indigenous man at a Dollarama over the weekend. Video posted online of the incident has led to criticism and outrage. Grand Chiefs in Manitoba say the video is deeply troubling and disturbing and say it is part of a troubling pattern of First Nations people being profiled and subject to unsafe, discriminatory, and degrading treatment in everyday spaces, including retail stores and other public businesses. 1-minute 30-second video posted on the weekend shows a Impact Security Systems guard punching the person at least 3 times and stomping on his stomach. Winnipeg police confirmed it was called to the downtown Dollarama Saturday afternoon for a report of a robbery and a male suspect fighting with security. WPS says a foot patrol attended and took over custody of the male suspect, medically cleared him on scene, and walked him to police headquarters 1 block away to be processed. Police say the security guard suffered minor injuries but did not require medical attention. The 46-year-old suspect faces charges of uttering threats, cause death, or bodily harm and robbery. WPS says it is aware of the video circulating and is still investigating. Impact Security says the guard has been removed from active duty and further action will be determined after it has been investigated. The security company says it is reporting the matter to Manitoba Justice for their investigation. A protest is planned for 4 p.m. today outside of the store. The largest mining conference in the world kicked off over the weekend in Toronto. Every year, the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, or PDAC, brings together mining executives, politicians, and investors from across the globe. It's an opportunity to exchange ideas, find partnerships for the future developments, and make some deals. A small group gathered outside while investors and executives meet inside the Toronto Convention Centre. A crowd of about 100 people with signs moved onto the street to speak of their concerns. Among the crowd are members from Northern Ontario First Nation communities located near the proposed mineral-rich Ring of Fire. Youth from Attawapiskat made the trek to Toronto to rally outside the conference. Geronimo Cataquapit says they're here in spite of the push to proceed with development.
With everything that's been happening here, all these announcements, I think within the void of the impact assessment that was announced recently, there's no better place to come and talk about protecting our land, about talking about those topics than here at a place like this, where we got all these mining companies and I'm sure government officials coming to talk about mining in our homelands, where we are. And we need to come here to places like these to represent ourselves, to talk about it. Even though it might seem like a sea of pearl mining people, we have to be the people that come in and talk about protecting the land and responsible development in a right way, one that isn't through fast tracking through these bills such as Bill 5 and Bill C5.
In Saskatoon, a Court of King's Bench reserved sentence for a now 16-year-old offender who set another youth on fire at school. The youth cannot be named under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, but was in court as teachers, family and friends read victim impact statements and lawyers recounted the day of the attack. Video journalist Rachel May was in the courtroom.
On September 5th, 2024, just days into the school year, a 14-year-old girl's obsession with her 15-year-old female classmate turned violent. Court heard the two were once friends, but the relationship ended after months of harassment. During the summer before the school year started, the harassment continued. That prompted the victim's parents to raise concerns with law enforcement and the school. A safety plan was put in place for the school year, including bag checks. But on the day of the attack, a water bottle in the accused's bag was not opened to inspect its contents. At lunch, she walked past staff, opened the water bottle, which contained a flammable liquid, poured it over the victim's head, and set her on fire. Students and staff rushed to help, including a teacher who was injured extinguishing the flames. The victim was airlifted to an Edmonton burn unit, later returned to hospital in Saskatoon, and went home before Christmas. In court, her mother read her daughter's victim statement that began with the words, "I'm still alive." It detailed the physical and mental impacts the attack had on her. In December 2025, the offender pleaded guilty to attempted murder and causing bodily harm. A joint submission from the Crown and defense recommended the maximum youth sentence of 3 years in intensive rehabilitative custody and a supervision program for the attempted murder, as well as 12 months to run concurrently for bodily harm. Judge Chris DeZer has reserved her decision until March 16th. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Kinanaskamitin, Rachel. The Nova Scotia government released their 2026-2027 budget on Monday, and some of the cuts in the budget will impact Mi'kmaq services and programs. Angel Moore reports.
The Conservative government's new budget, called Defending Nova Scotia, projects a $1.2 billion deficit. So cuts of over $61 million were made in civil and public services and over $130 million in cuts to grants. These cuts will reduce or eliminate provincial funding for 21 Mi'kmaq-specific programs, such as treaty education, Mi'kmaq Health Authority, and food security initiatives. The Millbrook Food Bank provides food security and services to over 80 people per month who are from the Millbrook First Nation. Ann Fittis is the executive director, but she has not yet determined the impacts of the cuts.
So to attack programs and cut programs, regardless of the dollar amount, it's going to impact people. It's going to impact families right here in our community and different communities across Nova Scotia who are First Nations based, because there's been so many First Nation programs targeted for cuts.
Inside the Nova Scotia legislature, Premier Houston defends the cuts.
We're trying to focus the efficiencies, the cuts, the change, whatever you want to call them, on administration and management to protect frontline services, to protect healthcare, to protect education, to protect housing.
But that is not so, according to a media release from the Assembly of Nova Scotia Chiefs. These programs, organizations, and initiatives were not merely trivial projects for the province to cut. They were equity-driven and created to address historic and persistent systemic inequalities that the Mi'kmaq of Nova Scotia continue to face. Fittis says the cuts will also harm the Mi'kmaq relationship with the province.
But the overall cuts in the budget that affect Native people's lives is services and programs that are critical to our well-being. And the cuts that were made seem targeted and definitely not on the path of truth and reconciliation. It seems like this government has failed us on many levels.
Fittis says the food bank services will have to survive on donations and fundraising. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Jabutuk, also known as Halifax.
Kinanaskamitin, Angel. And it's time for a quick break. Be right back. Chaskwa. Come on in, Pete Deguay. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents have ended Operation Metro Surge. It was an operation that brought an influx of ICE agents to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Across the United States, there have been reports of Native Americans being apprehended and detained by ICE. And as reporter Savannah Craig shows us, one woman is doing everything she can to make tribal members in the Twin Cities feel more safe.
Challenge of getting one bead.
Beading brings Jackie Wilson peace. Moments to herself are rare. Wilson is responsible for many, including grandchildren that she helps raise.
My boys don't go to school anymore. They're online because they don't want to leave home. They're little brown boys, you know, or red or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, but they don't go anywhere unless we go with them or whatever. I don't want them to feel that way. But that's part of that old being taken. We have blood memories.
The blood memories Jackie is referring to are memories of the state taking Indigenous people from their families.
My mother was sent to boarding school. My dad was too. Their identity was threatened, as well as ours. No.
This trauma is being revived by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, better known as ICE. They have been arresting and detaining people across the country.
First ones. We're Native American. We're the first ones.
Native Americans and other U.S. citizens have been scooped up in these operations.
One day I was going to work and I heard the whistles.
For Minnesotans, whistles are used to alert others of the presence of ice.
So here I was going out the door and walking in one direction, and my neighbors were all coming out, walking in the other direction towards the whistles. And for me, I felt a little bit guilty because I wasn't going in that direction to protect whatever was going on, but I also had this building and our people that that come here.
The building Wilson is referring to is the Minnesota Chippewa Tribe Community Center in Southside Minneapolis, where she works.
We have so many tribal communities, represented in the Twin Cities. We have about 500 to 600 tribal members in the 7-county area. So those are the shallots and the sweet potatoes and the potatoes.
One of the things the center does is offer food to all in need.
Well, unfortunately, people weren't safe coming to get food boxes, so I had extra food boxes left over.
Okay.
To many of the community members, she's known as Auntie. Some who visit Wilson are also impacted by ice.
We're hiding, most of us.
I'll grab you a card.
We're not coming out because they're stalking, areas where we are. And they've taken natives into custody and they refuse to let them go.
Wilson says the amount of people coming to the center has dwindled since ICE's presence in the city.
Usually we have maybe 15 people out there, but and those are usually like Central America, Asia, we hardly have any now.
They're 8 wide.
Nice.
So.
It's really heavy.
Wilson is mentoring others through a work experience program.
You gonna grab some food?
Get in. Yeah.
Including Annalisa Medina. Her brother-in-law was taken by ICE in December.
But his children suffered a lot, especially the first month he was away. The first son had tried to commit suicide, and then still struggled even to continue school, and all 3 of his children eventually switched to online learning because it was just so stressful for them to even leave.
Her brother-in-law is Mexican. The children are mixed Mexican boys for it, Ojibwe.
He was in there for 2 months, and the children just went without seeing him, even through a virtual call, which they usually would provide but didn't. The lawyers didn't do anything for him.
Finally, he received the support of lawyers. After 2 months, he was released in mid-February.
Yeah, she might have left because that was her stuff right there.
For Wilson, help looks like providing the community with what they need at this time, including tribal identification.
I have this around my neck, so I can just say, hey, I'm a, whether it works or not, it makes me feel more comfortable.
Those who come to see Wilson feel her support.
I come here to comfort her because she's the one that goes through a lot. She's the one she's a pillar in our community.
She used to see her grandma wear these.
Amidst all the fear and uncertainty, Wilson finds a quiet moment to bead miniature moccasin pins. Prayer helps Wilson cope with the insecurity caused by ICE.
I just pray a lot. I pray. Seems like I'm praying all the time. Praying for somebody, praying for everybody. I'm very, very proud of our strength because that's what it takes. It takes strength.
Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Ginanaskimit in Savannah. First Nations multi-sports champion Amanda Reid has claimed another slice of Australian sporting history, becoming the first Indigenous athlete to be chosen for the Winter Paralympics. Already a Summer Games gold medal winner in cycling, Reid will now represent her country in snowboarding.
Set against the stunning backdrop of the village of Lenk in the Swiss Alps, a history-making announcement.
Creating history as our first ever First Nations athlete to compete at a Paralympic Winter Games, Amanda Reid.
Remarkably, Reid only started competing internationally in the 2022-23 season, quickly finding success in snowboard cross at the World Championships.
Well, I'm very excited. My 5th Paralympics, but my first winter. So yeah, just going to enjoy the moment and then go training after this.
The proud Wemba Wemba and Guringai woman is a multi-sports champion and the 2017 NAIDOC Sportsperson of the Year. She started out swimming before switching to cycling, where she won Paralympic silver at Rio 2016 and gold at both Tokyo 2020 and Paris 2024. There were also numerous World Championship titles and world records. The 31-year-old says she's honoured to be the first Indigenous athlete to represent her country at the Summer and Winter Games, but she says she has no plans to give up cycling.
I'm definitely really proud to be able to do both, and I still do my cycling as well, so travelling with the bike, I'm very thankful that snow allows me to do that. So yeah, it's a great honour to be able to.
Michael Rennie, NITV News.
And it's time now to give you the results of last week's web poll questions. Our first question was, do you think Conservative MP Jamil Javani should apologize for his off-the-reservation comment? 72% of you said yes and 28% said no. Our second question, should the federal government take responsibility for lands contaminated because of munitions production during the World Wars? 75% said yes and 25% said no. And our final question was, would you ever consider a career in journalism? 47% said yes and 53% said no. Thanks to all who took the time to vote. Check back on our website to see this week's new web poll questions at aptnnews.ca. And we talk to a punk band from the Treaty 6 territory when we come back right after this break. Jessica. Wow, welcome back. Starting on the East Coast, St. John's -9, Charlottetown -13. Over to Happy Valley Goose Bay -19, Kuujjuaq -25. Chibougamau -15, Quebec City -12. North Bay -10, Sault Ste. Marie -8. Up to Big Trout Lake -10, Kapuskasing -7. Churchill -27, Puckatawagan -21. Dauphin -7, Winnipeg also -7. Over to Saskatoon -13, Swift Current -3. Up to Stony Rapids -31, La Ronge -26. Moving west, Peace River -18, Grand Prairie -15. Down to Calgary -6, Lethbridge +6. Over to Kamloops 0, Campbell River 2. Fort Nelson -25, Prince George 3 degrees. Over to Rock River -31, Mayo -45. Norman Wells -26, Fort Simpson -37. Tuktoyaktuk is -36, while Colville Lake is -38. Cambridge Bay -41, Baker Lake -33. Over to Arctic Bay -32 and Igloolik -30. Some might argue punk is dead, but one band out of Treaty 6 territory begs to differ. They call themselves the Dead Ex-Girlfriends, and they're bringing back the grunge and punk sound through nostalgia-ridden, emotionally driven music. The quartet features Dennis Sulin, Cree and Red River Métis musicians. Sav Jones spoke with the band on Friday before they headlined their show in Winnipeg.
I'm here with Saskatoon-based grunge punk band Dead Ex-Girlfriends. Veda Boyer and Gabrielle Giroux are two members of the quartet. Veda, how did you all start making music together?
Yeah, we started making music in 2020. Gabby and I are from Prince Albert, and so we were both kind of part of the Prince Albert music scene growing up, knew of each other, but didn't really run in the same crowds. And then when we graduated, ended up being roommates and ended up being like, oh, we should make music together. And so in 2020, 2020 was kind of a lonely year, the start of COVID, and we were like, hey, this is a great way to be able to kind of have an outlet, to write music together, to, just have a way to be able to share our thoughts and feelings, and to have a journal. Music is kind of like a journal for us. When the restrictions raised, it was kind of funny because Gabby saw this status on Facebook from Sienna. They don't know how they became friends on Facebook, but she saw Sienna's status, and Sienna's status was like, hey, anybody want to start a band? And so that's kind of how the three of us connected. And we started a band, and we started playing music, and we practiced a lot for the first couple of years, and eventually started playing, and we never really slowed down from there. we looked for a bass player for the first while and couldn't really find a bass player until a couple years in when Sienna was like, you know, my sister's a bass player. Kept that under wraps for a long time, so.
That's awesome. So it's kind of like a COVID project that's really blossomed into something a lot more than that, hey? Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Gabby, the band's debut album, Take Me to the After Party, came out last fall. Tell us about the band's music. What does your band sing about, and what inspires your songs?
So Take Me to the After Party, our debut album, I would say is Indigipunk, indigenous punk, grunge. We sing about, or actually this album is a concept album, so it's about party culture and kind of how you can lose yourself in there, how alcohol and drugs can affect your friendships, relationships, just like how you view yourself. And so the album takes you through that, kind of like wanting to go to the party and then actually like coming to terms with how that makes you feel and how it feels to the next day. So that's kind of what our album talks about.
Oh, that's really, really cool. When I listen to the album, it satisfies my deep love for grunge, 90s grunge music. What's been some of the reaction from fans and people who go to your shows?
I feel like the reaction is, we get a lot of like, oh, you sound like this band, but it's kind of all over the place, which is really nice for us. We take a lot of influence from a lot of different genres of music, and it is reflected in, we have like a blended playlist. It's reflected in our blended playlist as well. We listen to a lot of the same music, but we also listen to a lot of really different music altogether as well. Our road trips are very fun. But with the audience, it's received so well. And with the content that we write about, the music that we bring to the shows, it's not always fun when folks relate to our music, but it's beautiful to be in community with people and to, it's like a big hug, I love being at shows and I love being able to be in community, and even if the content is really heavy, I love being able to just be there with people who can get something from our music.
Absolutely, and it sounds like there's some pretty deep themes on this album. Any message you hope listeners take from Take Me to the After Party when they leave, when they listen to it?
I hope that they take away taking up space for themselves and just kind of being okay with who you are, independent of your crew, and start a band.
Yeah, start a band.
That's excellent. Okay, well, we'll have to end it there. Thanks so much for coming in to our studio, and I hope that you guys come back sometime soon, maybe play us some music.
Yeah, of course.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Sav.
Excellent.
And that's your APTN National News for this Monday afternoon. Mino Punapanu Anuts. I'm TR Wheatley. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. Join me again at 6 p.m. Eastern for today's headlines around the nation. Until then, from all of us at APTN to all of you, Egase, Gitam, Kinanaska Mitanawa.